Hello and welcome to this lesson on the very famous tune Greensleeves. I must have taught this tune at least 6 times during my YouTube career, and today I'm going to teach you how to play it on the Hayden Duet Concertina. I'm using an Elise, which is like an entry-level model, but it's absolutely fine, as you will discover. Now I was going to do this in A Dorian, or if you like, a kind of A minor, but this instrument hasn't got the range of notes to do that. I would have needed a G sharp, which this one doesn't have, so I've shifted it down a tone. So we're going to play in G Dorian. So what does that actually mean? The way to figure out a Dorian mode is to go down a tone. So you're thinking G Dorian, go down a tone, that's F. Think of F major. All the notes in F major are F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. And just move that up to G and go from G to G, but use the same notes. So G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, and that is G Dorian. So the key signature of G Dorian is the same as F major. You can see that it's got B flat. So all the B's are flattened, and we've also got F and F sharp in this piece. The F sharp is an accidental. So why not G minor? Well, G minor has got an E flat in it. And if you play E flat instead of E in this tune, you'll see that it doesn't sound right. So G Dorian has E natural, we want E natural, we want B flat, so G Dorian it is. And the scale is G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, and that gives you a tone, a semitone, a tone, 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 semitone, tone between the notes. If you have a duet concertina with more notes, kind of this way, and you've got a G sharp, you could shift everything I'm going to show you down one button and it will play in A Dorian. And on the left hand side, shift everything up one button. But I don't have the necessary G sharp down here, it would be below this F sharp here. So I'm doing it in G Dorian. It's a kind of a G minor key if you're not sure what I'm going on about. It doesn't really matter if you don't understand all that. I just like to explain all these things, so if you are interested, you'll know what's going on. Just so you know, the scale of A Dorian is A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G and A. So the key signature for A Dorian is the same as G major, it's got the F sharp in it. But anyway, we're in G Dorian, so look out for B flats and look out for F and F sharp in this tune. Now, I'm not going to hold your hand with the note names in this one. I've put a couple of B flats and F sharps in, but the rest of the time I'm expecting you to know your notes by now. The notes on the right hand from lowest to highest in this tune are as follows. We have D. This is the note we find in the space underneath the first line of the treble clef. Okay, so that's D. So that's what I call row 1 button 2. We have E, which is row 1 button 3. We have F, which is row 2 button 1. We have F sharp, which is row 1 button 4, coming back to that row 1. G, which is row 2 button 2, I always remember that, row 2 button 2. A, which is row 2 button 3. B flat, which is row 3 button 1. C, which is row 3 button 2. An octave on the first D I showed you, which is row 3 button 3. E, which is an octave on the first one I showed you, which is row 3 button 4. And we have an F, which is row 4 button 1. So from lowest to highest we have D, E, F, F sharp, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 right hand notes, and get to know what they are, where they are, and get to know them on the clef. Like I said earlier, the D is in the space underneath the first line. The E is on the first line. The F is in the first space. The F sharp is in the first space but with a sharp sign next to it. G is on the second line up of the stave. A is in the second space up. B flat is on the third line up and the key signature makes it flat. C is on the third space of the treble clef. D is on the fourth line. E is on the fourth space and F is on the fifth or top line. So these are the notes in ascending order. So we've got at least one of every note in that scale, that G Dorian scale. We've got a G, we've got an A, we've got a B flat, we've got a C, we've got a D, we've got an E, and we've got an F. And we also have an F sharp, which is what we call an accidental, something we're not expecting to find. So learn those notes. Learn to look at the stave, look at the head of the note, see what line or which space it's on, and know what that note is, without having to have G or A or C written underneath it or over the top of it. You know, that's okay on the first few tunes, but you're not going to learn to read music properly unless you start to learn these off by heart. As far as the left hand goes, a lot less notes. I've made this version of Greensleeves as easy as I possibly can. So we've only got 5 notes in the left hand. We've got D, which is row 1, button 2. Don't forget the 2 hands are mirrored on this instrument. We have F, which is row 2, button 1. G, which is row 2, button 2. We have A, which is row 2, button 3. And we have B flat, which is row 3, button 1. So we only have D, F, G, A and B flat on the left hand side. As far as the bass clef goes, the D is on the 3rd line up. The F is on the 4th line up, the G is in the 4th space, the A is on the top line, the 5th line, and the B flat is in the space on top of that 5th line. So in ascending order, D, F, G, A and B flat. I've only used those 5 notes. I could have made this arrangement more complicated, but I've made it as easy as possible for beginners on this instrument. And obviously, as we go along, I may come up with a harder version of this for you, but for the moment, this will be fine. So that was a huge preamble to the actual lesson, but we need to know all these things before we start. The lesson will have chapter markers, and once you've gone through it once, you can whiz around and find the bit you want if you want to learn a specific part. We call the first bar in this piece bar 0 because it's not a full bar, it's a pickup bar, and that single note in the treble clef, that G, is on beat 3. So you're going to count 1, 2 and play that note. G, okay, row 2, button 2, finger 2. We know it's finger 2 because it has a little number 2 by the side of it. You're pulling in that bar and in the next 2, so you want to start with your bellows a little bit open like that, but not crazily open, otherwise you're going to run out of capacity. So start about like that. So 1, 2, play that note. In the left hand you can see a crotchet rest thing that looks a little bit like a seagull, so there's nothing in the left hand there. This is a waltz, of course. It's 1, 2, 3, so we're coming in on the last beat of the bar, and then we go into bar number 1, which is below that. You can see some chords on top, GM, GM, F, F, GM, GM. These are chords for guitarists or keyboard players to play behind your playing. GM is G minor, F is F major. Don't worry about the chords. You're not going to be playing chords in this. You're going to be playing single notes with the left hand. But you will be making some chords with your tune, and I'll get to that in a moment. So let's have a look at the first 2 bars of the tune. They sound like this. So that was B flat, C, D, E, D. That first note in bar 1 is B flat. It's a minim, so it comes in on beat 1, lasts for beat 1 and beat 2. And its first finger, we hold it for 2 beats. Like I say, 1, 2, 3, we're pulling. On the 3rd beat of the bar, we go to the button below, which is the note C. So this is row 3, button 2, finger 2, that's a crotchet. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then in the second complete bar, still pulling, we've got D, E, D. Now, from D to E back to D, that's a tone. If this was in G minor, that E would be flattened. Now, a lot of people play Greensleeves like that, I have to say, but it isn't correct. It's correct to go up to the E and back. Some people like that, and that's absolutely fine, but the correct way of playing this is in G Dorian mode, where we have an E natural. So we have D, which is row 3, button 3, finger 3. Then we go to the button below, which is the note E, row 3, button 4, finger 4. So how do we count this to get the timing? Right, the first note, the D, is a dotted crotchet. It comes in on beat 1. It lasts for the whole of beat 1 and half of beat 2. The E that follows is on the end count of 2, and then the D at the end of the bar is on beat 3. So we count 1, 2 and 3. The and counter 2 is while we're playing that dotted crotchet D. The E comes on the and of 2, and then the D again comes on beat 3. So the counting from the beginning sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3. And I'm sure you know the tune of Greensleeves and you're familiar with the timing, but that just explains it. Let's deal with the bass line, the left hand side for bars 1 and 2. And it's the same note played twice. It's a note of G. It's on the 4th space up in the bass clef. On this left hand side, it's row 2, button 2, finger 3. In both bars we do the same thing. We play that note of G on the first beat, hold it for 2 beats, then have a rest on beat 3, and that is a minim, that note, so it's 1, 2, rest, 1, 2, rest. Put that with the right hand. Okay, now don't worry too much if you don't hold it for a complete 2 beats. If you come off a bit early, it really doesn't matter. If you end up holding it down for the whole bar, that won't be the end of the world, but try not to. Like that. Let's go from the beginning. 1, 2. Now I've put underneath that B flat in the tune, I put B flat, row 3, button 1, but I haven't marked up any other notes, so make sure you learn your notes. Go to bar 3 now. We've pulled the bellows out a fair amount, so we're pushing in now for these next 2 bars. Generally it alternates 2 bars pulled, 2 bars pushed, but not always. There are a couple of exceptions to that. So bar 3 and bar 4, we've got this. Same timing as the previous 2 bars. Minim, crotchet, dotted crotchet, quaver crotchet, so exact copy timing wise. We've got the note C, which is row 3, button 2, followed by A, which is row 2, button 3, followed by F, which is row 2, button 1, back to G, which is row 2, button 2, back to A, which is row 2, button 3. So we've got minim, crotchet, dotted crotchet, quaver crotchet. So it's pushing in, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3. You don't have to push hard, it's just a gentle movement when you pull and you push. And when you do those first 3 notes, the 2 notes in bar 3 and the first note of bar 4, when you play those 3 notes, C, A and F, okay, we don't play them so they overlap, we play them separately. You're actually playing the 3 notes that make up the chord of F major, just breaking them up into separate parts. We go C, A, F, G, A, all on the push. The bass line this time, it's changed. It's gone from G to F. So F is row 2, button 1, little finger, and it's a minim, rest, minim, rest. So put that with the right hand. Let's play that from the beginning. 1, 2. Just a very simple bass line. I'm not aiming for anything clever here, just something that sounds reasonable without being too hard. Bar number 5 and bar number 6. We're pulling again. We have B flat, which we've already played. I'm reminding you it's row 3, button 1. Remember, all Bs are flat in this. Minim. Then we go to the G again, which is row 2, button 2. Played twice. First time it's a crotchet. Second time in that next bar it's a dotted crotchet. And then we zoom over to the F sharp, which is button 4, row number 1, little finger, and return to the Gs. We've got B flat, G, G, F sharp, G, and I've marked the F sharp up as row 1, button 4. So that's bars 5 and 6, all pulling. Again, it's that same timing, minim, crotchet, dotted crotchet, quaver crotchet, and this time we return to our G basses. So it's row 2, button 2, finger 3, and 2 minims. Now notice there, I lifted that G off, didn't I, before I played the F sharp, so it didn't go for a complete minim, It doesn't matter, it's there for your own interpretation. Music is only a guideline, and don't forget to put your own feel, your own feeling into it. Going to move to the next page now as we finish this first bit off. We're pushing now, pushing in, and earlier we played the component parts of an F major chord. Here we're going to play the component parts of a D major chord. Sounds like this. So this is bars 7 and 8. We have A, row 2, button 3, F sharp, row 1, button 4. I've given you a reminder of that. And D, which is row 1, button 2. And then we move upwards diagonally to play the last note of bar 8, which is G, leading into the next bit. But the first 3 notes there, A, F sharp, D, if I play those notes together, that's a D major chord. We're breaking it up into its component parts. And then we use our second finger to come up diagonally to that G. And this time it's minim, crotchet, minim, crotchet. So we count that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But notice when we play the G at the end of bar 8, we start our pulling section from there. We don't wait for the next bar, we start pulling from the G. So it's push, 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 pull. Okay? Bass line, same thing as usual. This time it's a D bass, played as a minim twice. D is row 1 and it's button number 2. We're pushing, so it's that note there. So let's put that together. 7 and 8, both hands. Notice that the guitar or piano chord behind that is D major, so you know that's going to work. Make sure you've lifted that D bass before you play that final G on the pull in bar 8, because that would be a clash. Let's play from the beginning up to the end of bar 8. I thoroughly recommend using the printed sheet when you're playing. Computers and iPads are okay, but you can't beat a piece of paper when you're trying to learn something. Don't ask me why, I just think it's a lot easier to read it off the sheet. I always find my mistakes when I start printing things out, and that's a good thing, isn't it? Because I don't want to pass them on to you. So let's get ready. Open the bellows a tiny amount. We're going to start on the note G with the right hand, and we'll have a G note in the left hand when we get into the first main bar. 1, 2. Now there's quite a lot of little finger being used there. In the left hand there, we used that little finger on that note of F. Don't be tempted to move your finger down. And when we play the F sharp with the right hand, we use the little finger. Again, make sure you use it. Don't move your third finger down. You might think it's better. You might think it feels a bit stronger. We have a saying, use it or lose it. If you don't use that little finger, it will never get any strength into it. And, you know, it's very limiting not to have the use of 4 fingers in both hands. Obviously, we don't use our thumbs. They're stuck on top here. All right, so that is up to the end of bar 8. Let's go on to bar 9. Now this is going to be familiar because we've done this before. Right, so that's the same as bars 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we've got that F major chord there coming in bars 11 and 12. And the next new bit is bar 13. We're going to be pulling here. Right, so the right hand, we've got B flat. I've reminded you it's row 3, button 1. Then A, then G, dotty crotchet, quaver crotchet. Then we've got F sharp, E F sharp, dotty crotchet, quaver crotchet. Okay? So it's all on the pull. So B flat is row 3, button 1. A is row 2, button 3. G is row 2, button 2. F sharp is row 1, button 4. I've reminded you of that. And E is row 1, button 3. Play that right hand again. Now the bass line here, we do a G on bar 13 and a D in bar 14. G is row 2, button 2. D is row 1, button 2. And third finger on both. And it's a minim, then a crotchet, so lift off. Like that. And then in bar 15, you're finishing this first section off. I'm going to play this. Now I've got two lots of dotty minims, so ideally you'd hold them for 3 beats, but don't worry if you don't go to the end of the bar, it won't matter. It's all G's, so it's row 2, button 2, both hands, finger 2 on the right hand, finger 3 on the left hand. A dotty minim is worth 3 beats, so it fills the bar. And you're pushing and pushing all the way through that. So that's the first 16 bars, plus bar 0 on the beginning. Let's put all that together, shall we? 1, 2. Now even that, I think for a beginner, is probably quite hard. Don't worry if you can't do all that at once. And there's not a crime just to play the tune. The tune sounds lovely. Let me just play the tune for you without that left hand. That sounds really nice, doesn't it? No shame in just playing the tune. And, you know, I think if you struggle to get the bass in, don't worry, just leave it out for the time being. Practice it up, add it later, just play the tune to start with. I still think it sounds great. And there's a joy in doing easy things properly, I think. Sometimes we struggle so much we don't get any joy out of the thing. Sometimes you need to think, right, forget the bass line, play the tune, make it sound really nice. I'll add the bass a bit later on. Okay, we're halfway through. At this point the bellows should be reasonably closed up, so you're going to be pulling for 2 bars, and on the right hand side in bar 17 the note is F. Now it's this kind of top corner on this instrument. It's row 4 button 1, it's a dotty minim that holds for 3 beats, and with the left hand you've got B flat, which is row 3 button 1 little finger, so it's there with this note. So both notes are held for 3 beats. I've reminded you that B flat is row 3 button 1. So you're going to hold those notes for 3 beats, pulling. And then in bar 18 you're going to play them again. This time the B flat in the left hand is just 2 beats, because the right hand is going to go F, E, D. So you've got the F again, dotty crotchet. The E should fall nicely on little finger, which is row 3 button 4. And then D, row 3 button 3. So it sounds like this. So dotty minim, dotty crotchet, quaver crotchet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3. And B flat, the left hand, first of all a dotty minim, 3 beats, then a minim, just 2 beats. And again you probably noticed that I lifted off before I played the quaver E. It's absolutely fine. Now we've done this before, but what changes here is the bass line. In bar 19 I start off with an A, then I drop to an F. In bar 20, rather than playing the F note twice, I play A then F with the left hand. So it's row 2 button 3 for the A, row 2 button 1 for the F. So 19 and 20, this is pushing in. So a couple of tricky bars there. Let's play bars 17 to 20 inclusive, shall we? And make sure the notes come out properly, make sure you push hard enough. This isn't a great instrument quality wise, so I'm having to push and pull a bit harder than I would do if I was playing a real top quality instrument. But it's still fine. So when we get to bar 21, 21, 22, 23 and 24, this is the same as bars 5, 6, 7 and 8, but there's no G at the end of bar 24 like there is in 8. So we've done this before, in other words. So it's this. did bar 8, we went back to the G. Here we don't. Just play 2 dotty minims. Then we've got 25, 26, 27, 28, same as 17, 18, 19, 20. And then 29 to 32 is the same as 13 to 16. Pulling to start with. Pushing. Right, so I'm going to play the second section from page 3, bar 17 to the end. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's just play the tune of that. 1, 2, 3. Right, so, I mean, it should be a really easy piece, but actually it's not that easy. If I'm really brutally honest about it, it takes quite a bit of effort to play it properly. Certainly just the tune on its own is going to give you a bit of work. If you're a beginner, it might be a few weeks' work just to get that tune up and running and to be really confident with it. And once you are really confident with it, then start adding in the left hand and it will be a really lovely piece you've got there. So there we are, that is Greensleeves. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. It's a brilliant tune, isn't it? In this Dorian mode, it's got that real kind of medieval sound to it, hasn't it? So there we are. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoy learning this one. You'll see me in my next video.